So when do we know we on? Oh, okay, there
We
we
are
are.
on now. Yo, what's good, everybody on the internet? Welcome back to Perspectives. Shout out to End of the Week for having us here. And as you may notice, I'm starting it off today because unfortunately, Mr. Liddy Bro Flacco decided to go be a romantic and take his wife out for her birthday. So, he had to go do the things he had to go do.
Shout out
As
to
a
the
res-
bro, man.
yeah, man, it's a wise choice. As a result, I'll be walking us through this whole journey on my own. And joining me today to give his perspective on life and whatnot is Mr. JusOne from Team Homi. It is absolutely wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you, my good sir.
So normally Flacco does the whole introductory speech where he explains how the show started, which is like he did an album and whatnot. His Liddy Bros thing. He got that mixed up in Montreal by the homeboy
Word.
Merker Miyagi. Merker's the kind of guy who don't share nothing, right? So one day I'm cruising down Facebook. I see this Liddy Bros song get shared, and I'm like, say word, that guy never, ever, ever shares music he works on. Click on it, it's a trip. So I do an album review because back then I'm doing these album reviews. Just caught Flacco's attention a little bit. I'm like, yo, let's do the interview. We do the interview. He very much enjoyed the experience. He mentions words like therapy, and nobody asked me these questions when he does his version of this. Something about typical New Yorker that he is. He has to go put his homies onto it, and as such, we have ran through many of his homies as we've gone through it, and this is gonna be a first one in a long time where there's no Flacky here to join us on the journey, and that's all
Sad.
fair.
I'm sad because that's the homie. That's the homie.
Yeah, he's a wonderful person, honestly, but we're gonna make do. We're gonna handle it, and the way we like to start this off is if you, Mr. Just One, could just kind of give us a brief introduction into who you are, but most importantly, where you start your life and a little bit where your parents are from and all that.
Oh wow. Okay. um, I'm from Syracuse, New York, upstate New York.
Say a word.
Um, my father is from Auburn, New York. My mother is from Weedsport.
I'm not sure where Weedsport is, to be honest with you.
Yes, it's about 15, 20 minutes outside of Syracuse. Just a little small town.
Yeah, it's perfect though, because that sets the context right for this question I'm going to get into. So we know you're also a rapper, you're involved in a bunch of stuff in life right now. And so what we like to do is kind of, run it through and go into a lot of detail about it. So I have a bit of a typical opening question I ask where it's relevant that you're up in Syracuse at this point. And it's a bit of a story. And when it lands, you can take it in whatever direction, we'll start talking. Um, so it starts with my girlfriend, and she's doing the dishes one time, and she's got her phone out, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, the "I Got a Feeling," ooh. And she's vibing, and she's dancing, and she's washing them dishes, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, hold up. When did this song become chores music, right? Like, when did this song become that stuff that you put on when you're exercising, you're cleaning, you're doing these things when you're a little bit bored in life? When did that song become that? And I say that because I remember vividly 10 years ago, for me, that is like the club anthem. That's that song that comes on in the middle of the night when everybody's drunk, having a wonderful time. And now, just 10 years later, the song, it has not changed at all. But us, we changed so much that this thing is chores music in our lives. And I thought that was crazy how the context and the journey of this song can change so much in relation to who we are as people. And then I started thinking about all the little ones up in the clubs now and that they have no idea that the Cardi B's and shit's about to be the chores music of their future. But then it hit me, the Cardi's B's is kind of my chores music still. It's just club music becomes chores music, and I'm like that was just wild for me. It was a huge epiphany, and it got me thinking about like musical journeys, right? Because as artists and whatnot, we go on journeys, and these journeys they don't start where we normally think they start. When you watch interviews and you hear everybody talking about it, everybody runs it back to this adolescent phase. I discovered hip hop when I was 12, and this is my first. And that's when people started, But really, first, the musical journey transcends the individual genre of hip hop and the culture of hip hop. On second, it starts like super way before that. Like when you're like as little as you can be, like probably in the hospital there was music playing when you came out the womb kind of thing. And I can remember just to kind of like add to that, like being 4 or 5 years old, right? I'm in the apartment, and my dad's got these gray boxes, the fucking amp and the radio and the tape deck, and everything's put together with these wires. Everything's going out to the speakers and such. He's busting out his Led Zeppelin stuffs and things like that. At night, we've got that Montreal '90s techno music straight from the clubs pumping through it. My mom, she's more into like discos and musicals, and her little vibe, well, not as much my favorite, but it was there. At Christmas time, we got this tape, man. It was EDM remixes of Christmas bangers. That was like present opening music. Anyway, all I have to say is like your whole like young life, everything in your life has these memories laced to music, laced to like almost like a soundscape that kind of creates your story. And I'm hoping, Mr. JusOne, that you could run us back to Syracuse as little as you could remember being and describe a little bit what it sounded like to be you. Like this, like what it technologically, just the vibes and stuff when you were as
Yeah,
little
for
as you could
sure.
remember.
Well, my dad is a musician.
I'll say a word.
So, my dad is a musician. So I grew up around music from the beginning. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I mean, that's really what it is, man. Like my pops is a musician. There's really
What kind of
nothing else.
music?
My pops play guitar in like heavy metal rock and roll bands.
Wow, so you're going up on a whole different tip than a lot of people we've talked to. So,
Absolutely. Like my dad did tours with like he played with a band called Shaking Street and toured with Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult. And,
okay.
my dad was definitely doing his thing.
And when you were like young, were you like, trying to play guitars too? Were you singing and dancing? Were you involved in it?
Uh, I was kind of rocking with the drums when I was little. You know what I mean? Like we talking you know 4 years old type of situation. But then my mom's and my pop split up when I was 5. So
Mm,
after that it was kind of like
a little less
that
access
was
to the
that was kind
drums.
of yeah, you know what I mean? Definitely. Pops was out. He was a Rolling Stone, doing what he had to do. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
and then my mom's and like I was born in Auburn, New York, so I lived in Auburn until I was 5 years old.
So
Auburn is a small city in upstate. Like I don't even know if you can call it a city. I guess maybe small city, real small city. But
right.
then my mom's worked in Syracuse, so we moved to Syracuse as soon as my parents split up. So I was probably 5 years old. Actually, I was 5 years old. So
And so,
totally different environment as well. You know what I mean? Moving from Auburn to Syracuse, New York.
so I guess so. Like going from like a smaller community into, I guess, relatively speaking, Syracuse is pretty big. I actually have no idea how big Syracuse is.
I mean, it's a small city. Syracuse is a small city. It's not a huge city at all. It's definitely a small city. You know what I mean?
Right.
Smaller than Rochester, smaller than Buffalo. You know,
Fair enough.
but it's still a decent sized city.
So when you're there, like I guess with the shift in that, is your mom into music at all? Like is she bumping anything around?
I mean, nah. I mean, my mother used to like. She was one of those people that liked everything.
Mm.
So, my mom, she was on her Stevie Nicks, Pat Benatar wave, you know what I mean? But she also, would listen to Patti LaBelle, things of that nature too as well, you know what I mean? So my mom was kind of just, she kind of flipped around with the music.
So like once you get to Syracuse, now you gotta keep in mind I'm from Montreal,
Yeah, for
different
sure.
next generation maybe a little bit. I saw you were born in '74, so I'm a little bit
Yes,
younger than
sir.
you. And with that, it's like, what's it like just being a young one in a place like Syracuse growing up? Like, are y'all up in the sports vibe? Like, what kind of a growing up world is that for a little one?
Nah, not really. No, no sports for me. I was never really into sports like that. my really my first memories when I moved into Syracuse is just going starting school and going to the center every day after school.
What's the
You know what
center?
I mean? Like a boys and girls club every day after school. You know what I mean? Because back then we didn't have babysitters. Moms got out of work at 5 o'clock. You went to the boys and girls club until 5 o'clock. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So that's pretty much what I did. So that's how I got the. Plus, it's how you get to know people too really fast. You know what I'm saying? You start school, and then from school, you don't just go home. you go to the Boys and Girls Club with all the other kids whose parents ain't home yet, so they at the Boys and Girls Clubs, playing basketball, doing all that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fresh. So you're basically kind of running that. And are you like invested in music at all when you're young? Like when do you start
Not
to
at all.
develop a bit of
Not at all.
interest in it?
I would say, I would say probably, I say when I was about between 7 and 8 years old. Um, because the Boys and Girls Clubs always had, elementary school, and then always had high school students. All the older kids would hang out there too as well. It wasn't just, little
Mm,
kids. You know what I mean? So it would be like elementary kids all the way up to high school kids hanging out at the Boys and Girls Club. You know what I mean? It was the hangout spot in the neighborhood back in those days. And every neighborhood had a Boys and Girls Club. You know what I mean? And those neighborhoods was that's where everybody went. You know what I mean? So definitely just watching some older kids one day, you know what I mean, break dancing.
okay.
You know what I mean? I wasn't really even paying attention to the music. I just was paying attention to what they was doing. You know what I mean? It was like, what the hell are they doing? You know what I mean? They rolling around on the floor, spinning on their heads, spinning on their backs, doing, I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And I just started like chilling where they was at and watching them. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And
And
after a
this is like
while,
really early hip hop then,
oh
right?
yeah, this is super early. I mean, I was like 7, 8 years old, bro. You know what I mean? Um, I couldn't tell you the year exactly. You know what I mean? But if we did the math, I'm sure we could figure it out. But yeah, it's like 7, 8 years old, just
Early 80s, like
watching these
81,
dudes
80.
break dance, man, and it just caught my attention. So every day, instead of hanging out with the other kids my age, playing foosball, basketball, kickball, whatever we was doing, I was just watching these kids every day. I would go in there and watch these kids every day do their thing, man. I'm talking about probably for months. And then I would go home and move my mama furniture in the kitchen and try to emulate what I was seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's so cool.
I did that for a while until I felt like I had some of the moves down. And then I just jumped into their little pit, to their little circle, man, started doing my thing.
Yo, you are possibly one of the first people I've talked to that has started with being a b-boy.
Oh, 100%, man. That was the beginning.
Fucking coolest, honestly,
That was
because
the beginning.
like
And I was nice too. Like I honestly wasn't, I kind of was natural at it. And I just, and that's just what I did, man. I actually got super nice at it when I was a kid.
so you're
I,
like eight
oh,
8ish years old at the very beginning of a lot of this stuff, like starting to branch out into the world. You jump on it, and it's not like rapping. It's not, you're just into the dancing. And are you like getting ingratiated into the culture of it? Like, what's that
oh yeah.
like? What's the
I mean,
scene
obviously,
like?
yeah. Once you started breakdancing, obviously you understand this is what you breakdancing to. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I'm like, all right, well, I need this music at home. Like I didn't have any tapes or anything like that. At this time, you got to remember, you could not get hip hop nowhere.
Mm.
This was not some. This was not some you going to the record store and buying something, especially in upstate New York. This is definitely wasn't you about to turn the radio on and listen to nothing. You know what I mean? Like it was like I think at that point I don't even know if it was at that actual point, but somewhere down the line, I realized, oh, you can listen to the radio station on Saturday night from 7 to 10. You know what I mean? And that was at once a week, and that's was the hip hop that we got. And sometimes it wasn't even pure hip hop. You know what I mean? But that's when you could get
What do you
your
mean by like pure hip hop?
like it
I
wasn't
don't
just
always
all
know.
hip hop. Some of it was like, Paula
Um,
Abdul and shit like that. You know what I mean? Mixed in with Jam on it, Jam on it. You know what I'm saying? Mixed in with some of the hip hop shit. So, obviously, I just started learning about all of that shit, man. And if I wanted to have my own version of, I wanted to have the music to replay while I practiced the breakdance, I had to I had to ask my mom for some blank cassette tapes and started making sure I was on that radio between 7 to 10, press and record when I heard a joint that I wanted to come on, and we had to make my little. That's how I had to make my little hip hop tapes, man, so I could practice breakdancing.
Yeah, so cool. What is like, okay, so as you're getting into it, like, is it like battles and competitions? Is it more like a cipher? Like, what's the
Uh,
vibe like when it's a bunch of people in the break dancing circle? Or is
you
it
know,
b-boy? I
in,
don't
in,
actually know. What's the right term?
in the boy, like in the beginning for me, it was just hanging out with the older kids that was rocking out. Um, I'm sure that they went and did battles and all that stuff outside of the boys and girls clubs and all, because that's what we did later on. But for the first, I don't know, maybe even a year, you know what I mean? I would just break dance with them at the boys and girls club, you know what I mean? It wasn't until I got a little bit older and started linking up with, other kids in my school or in my neighborhood that was my age, maybe lived down the street, and we started linking up together, and then, you know, and we started forming our little crews, and then we started to realize, oh, we got to have a crew. You know what I mean? Because that's what it was in New York City Breakers. Because now at this time, like on public access TV, you might be able to catch like a program where you see like the New York City Breakers, you know, um, battling, one of the other crews, and you got to see that, and you're like, oh, we got to have a crew name. We got to get a
Mm.
crew together, and then we got to find other crews, and we got to battle them.
What was your
And
first crew name?
oh man, I can't even remember, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
can't even remember, man. I wish I could, but I can't even remember. But
That's still cool.
no, it was definitely dope, man. And then you get a little bit more older and you start going to the skating range, the little teenager club type of things when you get a little older, and then that's where we, would start battling. But then really, really, really early on, I discovered, rhyming,
Mm.
very early as well too. You know what I mean? So like not too long, I say maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years into breakdancing. Like I had
So
already
you're like
started rapping.
10-ish, right? Let's
Yeah,
just
I
be
already
clear.
started rapping. I was
10.
battling, playing the dozens, battling in the lunchroom. It went from playing the dozens, every day at the lunchroom. We would just rib on each other,
Can
and then
you
cats started rapping and ribbing. We talk freestyling and playing the dozens, and I just was all into that. You know what I mean? And that's when it really started just rapping. We would battle every day in the lunchroom. And I did that all the way through junior, from elementary all the way through junior high.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So you're basically simultaneously doing the b-boy thing and you're out there just kind of rapping at the same
Yeah,
time and you're
yeah.
all doing this
And
at like
graffiti
10,
too.
11.
And
Oh,
graffiti too.
say word.
I started getting up with the graffiti, carrying my markers with me. It's a whole. That's what I'm saying. Like the whole I was engulfed into the culture. I wasn't just like breakdancing. I became obsessed with the culture. And at
Right.
that time I didn't even know it was a culture. Like I just was doing everything that had to do with hip hop. You know what I mean? Breaking, doing graffiti, listening to the music, you know what I mean? Just all of that. Dressing, talking, using the slang. Like I just adapted everything that had to do with hip hop.
I think it's dope, but it's also like, listen, whenever I hear somebody saying like they doing all this shit at like 12 and like years deep at like 12, like that's incredible, man. Like it's just truly incredible. Like a
And
lot.
it was new. It was new. It was brand new. It was the grown folks didn't understand it. You know what I mean? My mom just didn't understand it. I'm like getting my hair cut. Like, yeah, I want to get my head shaved on the side with some lines, and I want to tell. My mom's like, what the fuck are you talking? They didn't understand it. You know what I mean?
That's that's definitely understandable. So yeah, you're basically running all that throughout high school, I guess, or you said up until middle school. I'm in Montreal where there's primary school and high school, so there's no middle school. So I
Sure, sure,
often forget
sure.
about that. So what happens then, I guess, is you move into high school. Are you still in Syracuse this whole time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually didn't even. go to high school. Or I got kicked out of middle school in seventh grade and had to go to an alternative school.
Mm,
So yeah, like I said, man, it just everything just started mixing in. You know what I mean? And my mom was a single mother. I started getting involved with the streets too as well.
right.
You know what I mean? So now everything was intertwining with each other. You know what I mean? Now you older, you need money to buy these sneakers, you need money to buy these clothes. You know what I mean? So now I'm getting involved with street shit, trying to make some money to, emulate what I'm seeing, Run DMC with the gold chains and, the Adidas and all that shit like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. So I didn't really participate in high school until probably what would have been my 11th year. But instead of going into the 11th grade, I just went to a GED half a day type of class.
Mm.
So, but by that point, you know, I was at every lunchroom, at every high school in my city battling. I was running around the city battling everybody, rapping. Wasn't even thinking about breakdancing at that point.
Right.
Breakdancing had kind of faded out. You know what I mean? And it was all about just rhyming for me.
And it was more about battling, or did you like? I guess at that point, nobody's thinking about songs and shit, right?
It was all about just being the nicest,
Right.
going to whatever school, jumping into whatever cipher, and being the nicest, and just getting your props off and getting your name up. You know what I mean? Similar to graffiti, just getting your name up.
Right. Because I mean, that's quite literally what you do in graffiti. I I find the culture really fascinating. I didn't know a lot about it until I started talking to some graph writers, and they're like, "Yeah, you don't know shit." I'm like, "Fair enough." And then I learned a lot about it and just the way the styling goes, the lettering. But then I started seeing it everywhere, and you start looking at ones and like, "How the fuck did you go there?" Like you start seeing shit that's like, "How did a human being get that one?"
Yeah, we
And
definitely
that's
did some dangerous shit when I was running around doing pieces around this city, and we definitely did some questionable things and put ourselves in some different situations we probably shouldn't have been in.
y'all alive, yeah, made
Yeah,
it through.
nah,
It's all
for
good.
sure. It's a fact. It's a fact.
That's it. Like you would basically, without like, you'd have to go because like I'm looking at something like, yo, you definitely doing things I'm too afraid to go do. Like, or especially when they climb up to like billboards and shit, and I'm like, straight
Yeah,
up, you
we
went
was
all
definitely
the
doing
way
that.
up to the motherfucking billboard, and wow, that's bold.
Yeah, see, because in Syracuse there's no trains. You understand?
Mm.
We don't have. There is no hitting the trains and none of that. So like when we was doing graffiti out here in Syracuse, the places that we would look to get up in is like underneath the bridges and the highways, you know, um, on top of buildings that you could see from the highway, rooftops. So we did a lot of rooftop, a lot of
Oh,
rooftop.
like if you're on the highway and you
How
can
you
like
could see
look down.
rooftops. So we would try to we would get as many anything that was visual from the highway or just on the streets or in the parks, handball courts and things of that nature. You know what I mean? We didn't have and we didn't. I never got into hitting freight trains. I kind of got out of the graffiti before the freight train, before the crew started hitting freight trains. But yeah, we didn't have no subways or nothing like that. So we had to deal with like, just looking for get up anywhere, you know what I mean? That's gonna be seen.
Right. And so with that mentality, you bring because that what's interesting is how all these things kind of like tie into the way that MCs approach the shit, right? So if a lot of people's coming from like b-boys and graph writing, that's a lot about like getting yourself visible, almost being loud and present.
Absolutely.
It explains how the battling kind of route just kind of naturally ties into it in a way where let's
Right.
say you're looking at it on Google 20 years later, it's not such a it's actually not a clear path. Like it's super hard to like make these kinds of connections. So I personally appreciate the fact that you're sharing all this.
Yeah, for sure, man. Shout out to my dude Kid 40, man. Act 2, aka Kid 40. You know what I'm saying? That was my graffiti partner right there, man. He's one of the he probably got up more than anybody in this city.
That's dope. And then you're doing the battling thing, and it's not like organized. It's more just like y'all
Nah,
battle and you
this
just
was
run it through.
this was just Yo, my homie Seth would hit me up. He went to Nottingham. He was like my DJ at one point when I started to get into recording music. He would hit me up. Yo, I got these kids in the lunchroom, blah 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 blah. Yo, you got to come up here, da 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 da. Come do your thing. So I would go to Nottingham and go battle some cats. You know what I mean? Or up to Corcoran or Fowler, Henniger. These are all the high schools. You know what I mean? I battled at every last one of them. Or we would just be, we would just go to other people's blocks and go battle. You know what I mean? At the basketball court on somebody's block, like it just was whatever. The after parties, you know what I mean? The little house parties. Salute my dude Robbo and my dude Paulie Paul. We used to be on the west side of Syracuse, New York, man, killing all them little house parties.
That's dope. That's an interesting grind. Like it's almost like you have to go out in order to
Yeah,
get it. Like there's no
yeah.
sitting at home. Like you just literally have to be there. And that allows you to meet the people and kind of build up that local stuff. I do at some point. Do you start getting to like mixtapes and recording?
It's funny because I should have been. I started recording with my dude Sal. He was the first person I recorded with. My dude Sal, aka Test One, aka Ferragamo. He is, when you talking about Syracuse engineers, he's like one of the dopest engineers out here. If you want to get your shit sounded right, there's definitely other engineers and studios, but his studio was well known out here. Red Brick Records, salute to them. I started recording with him when I was about 14. Um, and then I started recording with my other homie Seth when I was about 15, 16. Um, but then by the time I was like 16, I was really heavy on the block into the streets.
Mm.
So by the time I was 17, I got locked up. You know what I mean? So when I should have been really chasing a rap career, I was just in the streets, doing shit I shouldn't have been doing.
I mean, life was different then. It's a different reality.
Oh, for sure.
And you still clocked probably more experience up to that point than some people I know in the game today.
For sure. I mean, I never stopped. I never stopped rhyming like ever. You know what I mean? So, but it wasn't until I have to say it wasn't until like 98. This is a long time. This is a long period. So it wasn't until about 98 I started recording records for real and was like, I'm gonna figure out a way to put this music out, get this music out. And then in 1999, my boy Mikey Childs, salute Mikey Childs, Red Brick Records. Um, he was just like, "Yo, Just, you talented. Let's go. I'm gonna sign you to my label. I'm gonna put your music out." So that's what we did. That's when I started. I started putting music out in '99.
So I guess between then you just had other focuses in life in that period.
But the in between time was I was always writing, always rhyming, always battling, but I was in them streets getting money. I wasn't thinking about being a rapper. You know what I mean? Where I'm from, that was a far fetched dream. It just was never gonna come. It was never gonna happen. Like there was no hope for that. You know what I mean? Upstate
Can
New
you,
York.
yeah, can you
Upstate,
elaborate
yeah,
on
no,
that?
for sure. Upstate New York is not like living in New York City, man. You know what I mean? There's nobody famous where I'm from. You understand? People don't come where I'm from and become stars and make it. So there was no inspiration there, you know?
Mm.
So, it's kind of a hopeless type of a city, you know what I mean? Because it's a small city. It's not a big city like a Philly or Detroit. You know what I mean? It's just a small little rinky dink city. And I love my city. Trey One Fever, salute. But everybody that's from here, they know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And back then when we was doing music, wasn't nobody out here doing music. I mean, in '99, when I had put my vinyl out, man, you could probably count on one hand how many rappers from my city had put out vinyl
Mm.
on
That's
one
huge.
hand. This in 1999. You know what I mean? Maybe two hands, but what I'm saying is very few. Nobody was when we started really doing music and trying to get on. Nobody out here was real. There really wasn't that many people from my city trying to do that. Mostly everybody would be like, Oh, you trying to be a rapper, man? Fuck out of here, bro. You know what I'm saying? Even my homies, even my dudes that I was around every day. You know what I mean? It was like it's like I had two different sets of friends. I had my dudes on the streets, you know what I mean, that I used to be, and then I had my dudes who I did music with.
Right. So you basically get signed to the label,
Mhm.
and at that point, okay, being in Syracuse, what are the how do you get hip hop at that point? Because it's still pre-internet. I know you're not in New
Well,
York
yeah, and I
City.
mean,
It's a bit different.
by 1999, I mean, even by the the mid, mid to later 80s, we started, you got concerts, people are coming up, the music is getting, you can actually go and buy the music in the record store. I remember my first two records that I bought was Fat Boys and Run DMC. I bought them at the same time, you know what I mean? The vinyl. So, at that point you were able to go in the record theater. That was the name of the spot that we used to buy music from. And then there was a bunch of other little mom and pop joints too, Cole's Music World. And then there was another one up on the east side. The name eludes me. Um, I can't think of the name, or maybe that was Cole's. I can't think of the name, but there's a couple mom and pop shops that was just, you could get all your hip hop from. So at that point, you were able to buy all
Right.
the new shit, or buy, like, people would people would go to the city and get tapes of Hot 97, just recordings of Hot 97, and put them on tapes, and they'd be selling them out of the store. So we would be able to get all of that stuff as well. Like all the radio freestyles and all the, the Roxanne battles and all that stuff. We were able to get all of that stuff at that point.
Okay, it's dope still. And when I think about Syracuse, the only thing I can think of is I'm pretty sure that's where Montrealers go when people don't come to Canada. That's the only thing I thought about it. Like, what do I know about Syracuse? And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh shit, that's where I would go when the tour comes close enough. That's the closest New York City to Montreal if you're gonna go see
Yeah,
some shit.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty. I mean, we're not. I think from Syracuse you can get to some one portion of Canada in like 2 hours or something like that, maybe three. I know
Yeah.
Buffalo was the closest, I believe, to Canada.
But they're close to another part of Canada that's much farther from me. Like they all
Yeah,
up in
for sure.
Ontario by
They're like
Toronto
right by, well,
or
Niagara Falls is
Hamilton.
the
Yeah.
closest. Yeah.
And then but on the Montreal side, I'm pretty sure Syracuse is where we go, or some shit in Vermont. I don't know what's in Vermont, but so you know what I mean. It's Vermont, so Syracuse is probably really where we'd go for most shit, because that seems to be like whatever. But I know I've seen it on a bunch of tour flyers. I'm like, shit, if I'm gonna go, it's gonna be there, and then you just never end up going because it's a lot pricier than not, But with all that being said, you're basically one of the first guys to press a vinyl at that time. So what are some of the influences that are running your thing? Because like I guess unlike a lot of the more New York guys, it's not like you're ingratiated into these moving parts of the scene that are kind of happening and seeing homies on your block become TV stars and shit.
Yeah, it's
So
just
with
not, that's
that,
not happening at all.
what is some of the shit that you're fucking with at that time that you would call some of the influences you had?
Well, my dude Mike, who called me and was like, "Yo, come, let's do this music." He had a prior situation. Him and a couple of my other dudes I was used to rap, was rapping with. You know what I mean? Shout out to the whole 422 alum. They had a group called the Mad Pack. And when Mad Pack was doing their thing, I was locked up. Or most likely I would have been involved with that. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I wasn't. You know what I mean? But through that, my dude Mikey was part of that, and he, they were all over the place. They were actually doing shows. I mean, they were going to all the Jack the Rappers, these are rapper conventions, music conventions. They were doing shows all over the United States. I mean, they were doing shows alongside people like Biggie, who just weren't even big names yet. You know what I mean? So they were rocking with, like, people, leaders of the new school. Like, they're around all of these, they're doing shows
Sick.
all over the place with these dudes. And Mikey is learning the game while he's doing this. You know what I mean? Um, and unfortunately, they put out an album and all that shit, and it did well. You know what I mean? But it didn't crack. It didn't crack the pavement like it should have. You know what I
Right.
mean? So they came back to the town. They went through what they went through. People started going their separate ways. Mikey wanted to keep the label going, And he hit me up, was like, yo, Just, you nice. Stop playing around. Let's put this music out. So that's how that came about. And so Mikey was privy to how to grind it out. So he
Mhm.
would, he knew who to send my records to. You know what I mean? We put out the first 12-inch. He got in touch with Right On magazine. So, he got me a write up in Right On magazine. I don't know if you remember that magazine, but
I've never heard of that
yeah,
magazine.
Right
Or
On
am I?
magazine, Right On magazine was before The Source. You know what I mean? That was the magazine.
Okay, 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 yeah,
Word Up, and Right On. Those two magazines. Those were the magazines. Biggie taught Word Up magazine.
yeah.
But those was the two magazines. So I got a write up in that. Um, and Mikey just started working my records through the college
Uh,
scene.
that's cool that you got to write up in a classic fucking hip hop magazine because that's
Fact,
impossible now. You can't
fact.
do that ever again. That's like a legendary thing, all things considered.
I mean, the
That's
magazine's gone. It's over. It's over with. You know what I mean?
like you can get some internet shit now, but it'll never be like with the power that the magazines had.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah. I
never
mean,
be that.
back then the grind was very different, man. Like the grind was very different. The cost to make things happen was very, very different. Studios back then, we ended up we were right on the cusp of kind of like the studio equipment starting to become a little bit more valuable to to people, in it not being so expensive. Like I never recorded on a reel to reel, so I missed that. You know what I mean? I
Right.
dodged that bullet with where you had to go to the studio and it was $100 an hour, no matter what you do, just to put out a demo was going to cost you thousands of dollars, which was probably the reason why when I was younger, I just was like, yeah, this music shit is not for me. There's no where I'm going to do this music at. You know what I mean?
That's
And
a huge point. Oh, I don't think a lot of people think about that, right? What you
yeah,
just said there, $1,000 to do some shit that is like maybe gonna go nowhere
yeah,
in a
no,
time when nobody believes in you.
and during that time it cost money to make music unless you was doing some cheap shit and making some pause tapes and rap. There was ways to make some cheap joints, but if you were going to really put out a nice demo, it was going to cost you some bread. So at that time I just wasn't focused on it. You know what I mean? Like I said, man, like people around here just didn't believe in that type of shit. Like, oh, you ain't never gonna make, you ain't never gonna be shit, you ain't never gonna make it doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that. Apparently, Saf Max says that's my pops. So I just thought I would share that. That's dope. Stills, man. Honestly, I think it's really, I think it's a lot. It's really real to a lot of people. Like Montreal didn't have no pop and hip hop scene back in the day. There's a lot of places that, I mean, Montreal's a weird place, but like, there's a lot of places that are in the same kind of like psyche that get expressed like that, where it's like it's not New York City. We got that other version of a reality. So I think it's super interesting to hear it, especially because you're so close to New York City that it could be just
Yeah,
so
4 hours
drastically
away.
different.
4 hours
Um,
away.
and it's like that 4 hours is just like apples and oranges.
Salute to my baby girl too. She tuning in.
That's so cool, honestly. So with that, like you guys just still get to doing it. You're at that point, it becomes a little more affordable. So do you all own the gear or are you like
Yeah,
renting
no,
studio time?
we again, so my dude Mikey, Red Brick Records, and my boy Sal that I told you about earlier that I started doing music with when I was younger, and recorded some of my first songs at his house. You know, he had a little small setup with a 4 track and all that stuff like that. So we did some stuff on that. But eventually, what I did was I got those two together so they could partner up. And Sal had the studio. Mikey had a lot of the connects. So we just all came together, and Mikey started working these records, man. I mean, we pressed up, my first 12-inch, I think he pressed up maybe 2,000 copies. Not really sure on the number, 15 to 2,000 copies, something like that. But he had us in record pools. You know what I mean?
How
So
did you get it pressed at that time? I don't think I've talked to somebody who got a record vinyl pressed.
I'm assuming probably disc makers or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, but it was definitely, expensive back then. But yeah, so we pressed up the first vinyl, and he started sending it out to record pools. He got into the record pools, and that cost money, to
That's
get.
the shit that goes to the different DJs to get
Yeah.
you radio play.
So back then DJs were subscribed to record pools, right? So how they would get their new music is from being subscribed to that record pool. Like the new artists that were coming out, they want the DJs to play their music. So, if you pressed up, however many, you would set aside a certain amount of vinyls to just go to these record pools. Like you're just giving them to the record, you're just giving them away. And the record is just going out to all these different DJs that are subscribed to those record pools. So, I mean, even without the internet, my 12 inches were going out around the country, around the world, because they were going overseas too.
Yeah, it's big. I'm certain that exists now, and people need to get up on how they can get into some record pools for whatever
I mean,
local,
record
whatever.
pools still exist. It's just a different, everything is email now. You know what I mean? Everything is closer to touch these days. You know what I mean? But back then it wasn't like that. They had to literally send these pieces of records out. They had to be shipped out.
Mm. Yeah, but that's serious. So I guess that puts your music out, but you have no way of knowing if people are hearing it.
Not really, man. I mean, no, well, the with the way the record pools work was the DJs would usually report back whether or not they messing with the record or they not, you know what I mean? Or if the DJs, and a lot of them are radio DJs, like college radio DJs. So they would reach out, oh, we want to interview, especially, a lot of the college radio stations upstate. So we did a lot of we basically toured the whole upstate and did like almost every college, back in those days, interviewing and going up in there and freestyling, and they would play the records. So the records were getting played.
And then because you're up in the colleges, that can unlock opportunities to now go perform at colleges and shit.
And that's exactly what we did.
Say fucking word. I bet there's still a whole college grind that a lot of people sleep on. Like I say that because I don't know a single one of the peoples in my squads, and they might do it, not talk about it, but I can't think of a single person that's like, bro, and I tapped into the college grind. Nah, it just isn't a common sentence.
I wouldn't say that we really tapped into it like that, but we definitely made our rounds. We definitely made our rounds enough to put out another 12-inch.
That is way more tapped into it than most humans I know. I mean, there's a 1-2 person that maybe might know a thing, but usually it's like when you're in college, you go do it. But just the idea of leveraging a record pool to get your music into a situation where you're actually just getting invited down to all of these colleges to go create that like opportunities and bridges over there is pretty powerful to me. Like that's a cool part of that, and it must have been hella fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely was, man. I mean, at that point, I really thought my thought process back then was, oh, we gonna win. How could
Mm,
we not? You know what I mean? Like we never got really too much bad feedback from anything from the music that we put out.
right,
You know, then I started getting looks from some of one of the underground magazines that was pretty prominent back then, Insomniac magazine. Shout out to Israel. He's still doing his thing on the digital side of things, on the gram and all that stuff. But yeah, we got plugged in with him. They liked the second 12-inch that we put out. It made it into they used to do a thing called the top 12 inches with the most one-liners in it. So
right.
the second 12-inch that I did was featuring my dude Hannibal Lecter, aka Seth Marcel. What up, my brother from another mother? He was the kid earlier that I was talking about that was my DJ and producer before he even started rapping. But we did a record together, and he was on that 12-inch, and yeah, we got inducted into that magazine under that little section, the top 12 inches with the most one-liners in it.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, I got the article somewhere, man. But there was some pretty dope names that we were in there with. You know what I mean? I can't think of off top. I haven't really looked at it in years and years and years. It's been, I mean, it's been 20 years since that happened. You know what I mean?
Right. Makes sense. But it's still just the idea of being involved in that and going out there and just pushing it because again, everything stacks up, right? This is all just part of the story and it's still
Fact.
like a dope part of it. Um, so like what happens after that? I mean, are you guys like is there a lot to perform at in Syracuse? Are you like heading to places like New York yet?
Not really. There's not really too many places to perform in the town, but we definitely did our fair share of shows out here, whether if we put them on ourselves or just jumped on some, shows or showcases that people were having. There was always something going on at the university, so we would always try to tap in and get involved with what was going on at the university as far as show wise is concerned. Um, but yeah, after the first single, man, we were working at a lot of stuff, but things just started to slow down, man. You know what I mean? I was getting impatient. You know what I mean? At that time, I'm a young father. I have children at that point. You know what I mean? I need bread. You know what I mean? So I started to get just started falling back from it, man. You know what I mean? I ended up putting we ended up putting the album out. Um, I just hit the streets with them and sold as many as I could. Um, but after that, like I just started to fizzle out a little bit, man. Started to lose momentum because it didn't happen. You know what I mean? I felt like we was working and it didn't happen. As far as back then, it was everything was getting a major record deal, like getting signed, getting a major
Right.
record deal, or getting major distribution or something like that. You know what I mean? So when it wasn't happening, I just was falling back and getting back into the streets. You know what I mean?
I definitely can understand that. Especially because now it might look like, well, you can just go independent, grind that, and hustle this and whatever, but it's not possible in the same regards. Like the opportunities weren't, especially if you're a father. And as I've seen with my peers that have become parents, it is incredible how something like a rap career becomes a back burner when you have a 2 year old.
Yeah. And then
And
actually in 2000, I moved to Florida.
oh, that's
I,
cool. What part of
I,
Florida?
I moved to Orlando, Florida in 2000. So I was kind of like off the music, but now moving to a new city and like, you know, going trying to figure out where the spots is at, where the MCs is at. You know what I mean? Um, Met a lot of dope people out in Orlando, man. And the crazy thing is, again, and this goes to show you that even without the internet, how far of reach shit was happening. Um, and basically, I walked into this spot called Will's Pub, and the DJ was playing my record.
Say a word.
Fact,
That's one of the most incredibles. Like that
fact.
honestly sounds like the one of the early level dreams you could have.
That's a fact. So the dude, and I was just going to different spots trying to figure out where everything was happening at. And I was just chilling in this spot watching, the local dudes do their thing, you know what I mean? And at this point, I really haven't rubbed any elbows or introduced myself or even, started doing anything at all. But I was just, chilling, enjoying the shows and all that shit, seeing what was what, who was who. And, lo and behold, homeboy puts my record on.
That's the last your shit. Like
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. So, and then the next thing that happened in Orlando was basically the magazine that I was telling you about, Insomniac magazine. Um, I forgot how I figured it out, but I think my boy Mikey called me and told me that Insomniac magazine, they were doing a fifth anniversary in Orlando. Their fifth anniversary show was in Orlando, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in Orlando." So I hollered at Iz, and it just so happened he just moved to Orlando or was living in Orlando. So this guy from New York City, from the Bronx, who's doing this underground magazine, is living right where I'm living, who I already have a relationship with through putting my records into his magazine already.
right.
So when I reached out to him and told him, look, I'm out here. I just moved out here. And, he loved the record and all that shit. So he was like, yo, you want to come perform at the fifth anniversary? You know what I mean? MF Doom was the headliner.
What?
Yeah. So
Hella cool.
MF Doom was the headliner. Um, oh man, uh, Big Just was one of the headliners. From Def Jux.
Yeah, I that's fucking cool, man.
I have a picture somewhere of me. Mars Ills was one of the headliners too. I have a picture somewhere with me, Big Just, and Mars Ills somewhere. Um, but anyway, so this is what introduced me to the local scene in Orlando. You know, because there was no local people performing in Orlando.
Right.
Nobody. You know what I
So you're
mean?
saying nobody from Orlando was a local rapper, thus you were the closest thing
That
to a local rapper.
that was on that bill. So
Oh,
so you know all the local underground cats in the city was at that show. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. So other local rappers basically saw you open for MF Doom and went, "Oh shit."
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. I
And
would
then
be like,
that's
"Oh
when
shit."
a couple of the dudes, you know, the DJ that played my record was like, "Oh, I play your record," you know. I was like, you know, and I just started kicking it with people, man. You know what I mean? And met a lot of cool ass dudes out there, man. Salute to Orlando. A lot of cool ass dudes I met out there, man. And then I did music out there for the next 5 years, man. I finally put out a mixtape while I was out. I put out how many mixed? I put out one mixtape while I was out there, and then I got with another label out there. Started working with another label. Shout out to my dude D Smooth. And did a few more things out there, man. I got more into the music out there than anything, because I do production too. So when I moved out there, I started getting into making more beats too. So I did a lot of production for a lot of people out there too as well.
When did you get it? When did you start getting into making beats?
Right around the same time when my right before my first 12-inch dropped, I produced the track as
Mm.
well. So like
So is
90, like 98, like
so
98, 99, I started producing on the MPC 60.
what is that's one of those
Just the
four
machine.
tracks?
Nah,
Like
the
the
MPC 60 is a beat machine.
okay. That's
Sampler.
dope. That's incredible. So you're all basically you're all the elements.
Yeah, yeah. I never DJ though.
That's
Never.
fair.
I definitely would
I mean,
jump on them and scratch and play
I'm
around,
gonna
but I was
I'm
never
gonna throw
I never
like
was a DJ.
beat making is kind of in the ballpark. It's the music side. It's not like fully. It's the
I'll
ballpark.
take it. I ain't mad. I'll take it. I'll take
And
it.
I mean, it feels like I don't know. You ever beat makers and DJs? You talk to them. It's very similar people. They care about very similar things.
Very gear, or it's kind of like a gearhead situation.
They
Like
also
DJs and
care,
producers are into their gear.
and they care way more about the sound. They care way less about the bars. They're like,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, some of them like they have their fit preference. They're like, bro, but does it sound good? And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
for
say a
sure.
word. That's a whole different conversation.
A whole different conversation.
That's
Whole different
fresh.
conversation. But Orlando was dope, man. I did a lot of things out there, man. We did like I said, I got with this record label and signed it, a deal with them. Uh, the dude that used to run the label was like a marketing dude for Atlantic Records, and he had like some boy bands. He had a boy band that was, I forgot the name of it and all that shit. Um, but a couple of the dudes from that boy band went on to be kind of famous. Drew Seeley, and I forget the other dude's name. The other dude was doing hooks for like he did was doing hooks for like Lloyd Banks, and I forget his name though off top. I can't think of his name off top. But Orlando was dope, man. We ended up doing like a tribute song to Tracy McGrady, performed at the finals versus the Pistons. Um, yeah, it was dope, man. You know what I mean? Definitely was dope.
That's
I met
huge.
that's where I met Mad Ills, man. This is where the battle rap comes into play because this is where I met Mad Ills that actually produced his first album.
Let's say a word. Um, wow. How did you meet him? Like, is it just like
Just
random or?
working in the mall, had a job in the mall. He had a job in the mall. You know what I mean? Just my store was like the cool store to come to. So all the kids came to my store to buy their gear and their clothes and all of that. And I just kind of linked up with him, man. They would, just they was rapping and all that stuff. So I would, jumped in one of their ciphers one day and started killing it. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Yeah, hip
Not,
hop heads just find a way to meet each other, bro. Wherever you go, it don't matter where you go. Like, MCs, we're very competitive, in nature. And at that point, I was still pretty very competitive with rhyming. So anytime I had a chance to rhyme, I would jump in and rhyme. You know what I mean?
right. So you produced his first album, and what happens after that in your story? Because so far, man, it's been pretty epic. And we're like, what,
Uh,
in your 20s now?
yeah, I would say late 20s, man. It's 2000. You know what I
That's
mean?
serious still. 2000, late 20s, and accomplished a lot more than a lot of careers.
Yeah, but still,
Hella big flowers.
but nothing really substantial though. You know what I mean? Nothing really stuck. You know what I mean? I definitely did a lot of things, and I'm grateful for what I did, but nothing really took got me to that next level where I wanted to be at, man. But I still enjoyed looking back right now. I still can enjoy my journey. You know what I mean?
No, it makes sense. But like, even then, when you're looking at it from my perspective, where I'm not yet at any of those levels I want to be at, it's like, yo, but those levels that you hit are like fucking hella nice levels that a lot of people like don't earn. Because, but when I say earn, because you run it back, you're like 4 years old playing drums. You're
Yeah.
already putting into work, even if you
Mhm.
didn't know you was putting into work.
I was destined to do this music shit, man.
I
It was
believe
just
that.
written. It was written for me to be involved with this music thing. It just was. If I just believed that it was written. There was just
Right.
no other way it was gonna go.
No, and it shows, man. I mean, you're still at it today, so evidently
100%.
you've accomplished the goal of making it. And I find that to be like hella impressive when people can make it like a decades long thing. That is like, man, it must have taken a lot of mental fortitude to like push through beyond all of that crap and
Well,
still run it.
trust me, man. I went through, man. I definitely went through periods where I just was like, man, I can't. I needed breaks. I definitely went through a few periods where I needed some breaks. You know what I mean? The longest break I believe was in 2005. I moved back to Syracuse, um, and was moving heavy with this crew called the Senate. Shout out to the Senate, Taj Mahal, Sammy G, Thump Mendoza, and all the rest. Nitron, salute. The Senate was actually I don't even want to bring up these dudes' names right now, but the Senate was actually, kind of in a little family tree with like Dipset. You know what I mean? So
Say a word.
my
Yeah.
my dude Taj, he rocked heavy with Jewels and shout out to Uncasa. That's my dude. Uncasa's really the only one that I ever really rocked with. You know what I mean? Personally. Shout out to
I only know who Ankasa is because I watched. So I look into whoever it was. I think it was Bishop Bones Brigante or
Yep,
somebody
yep.
battled Unkanta and
Uncasa.
Unkasa, sorry. And I was, you gotta understand, my first ever real thing was like 2 weeks before that. I got told I was talking to Iron Solomon and he was a legend to go do my research, right? So it
Shout
was
out
like
to Solomon, man. That's my
head
guy,
first
man.
into that. So now I'm watching this battle. I'm like, why is the guy just yelling at him and shit? Like I was so confused at this point, right? Because I'm like not understanding the evolution and shit, and
Sure.
I'm like, man. So I know who he is from that one battle. But that's cool. That like
Yeah, he
it,
he was one of the if you look back in the battle, you want to start talking battle rap. Was like pivotal part of that those Smack DVD eras. Like his battle with T Rex was legendary. You know what I mean? So salute to my dude man. He don't get the credit and the flowers that he deserves either. You know what I mean? But salute to him.
and I believe that it was broken down to me that he's from an era where battle rap was more like that and it has a whole different thing. And then it got explained to me that the way it is now is like an evolution of an evolution,
Oh,
and
so it's
and
definitely an
all.
evolution of what it was.
So I mean, I think it's cool that like then I learned how much like wrestling it is, and it like fucked me up, and it started to make like way more sense how everything plays out with it, and I got like hella more into battle rap in general, to a point where it's like, okay, I get it now. I enjoy this as like a thing that that like I can get into for reals because it's just dope. But like it
Dope.
totally takes a second to understand that shit. You gotta like,
It's a whole history in itself. You got hip hop history, right? But then you have other different histories within itself. You got the graffiti history. You know what I mean? You got the MC history, which is different. You know, at some point it will become different than the battle history. You know what I mean? Like the artist side of it. Because in the beginning it was a battle, kind of a battle, and then it went to more music, and then another subgenre of just battle rapping came out of that, to now where battle rapping is really its own. It has its own spot in hip hop right now.
yeah, I mean, like it's almost like there. I started checking verse tracker. I'm like, well, if I can't find music, let me hit up that verse tracker because sometimes Flacco will just throw me a name, and I'm like, who is this? Anyway, but like it's crazy how like this, and then you go on it and you realize how in depth this whole universe goes with the leagues and all the various just the history of at least a good decade now. Like people have
Yeah.
been on YouTube proper since like a decade at least.
2008 Grind Time hit YouTube. Shout out to Grind Time for being the catalyst of this new era. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Of battle rap that we know today, man. Salute to Direct. Salute to Mad Ill. Salute to Lush One.
I had the pleasure of talking to Direct and Lush One, and
Dope.
it blew my mind. Honestly,
Dope.
both those guys are incredibly, they're geniuses in very different ways, and that makes it incredible to know how ingratiated they all were with each other back in the day, because so different,
Yeah.
but so genius with their approach to it.
Mhm.
Um, so like, I guess you took a break in 2005. Like you come back to
Well,
Syracuse.
2005, I came back to Syracuse and I was going heavy for about a year till about 2006. And I was going heavy. I put out a mixtape hosted by Uncasa, you know what I mean? And we was running heavy, man. We was selling, we pressed up thousands of mixtapes, man. And we was all over selling them joints. We were all over the place. And then, I just, again, always tapped into the street shit, man. You know what I mean? Never really left the street shit alone, so that shit just became a priority again. You know what I mean? So I ended up not really doing any music for like 2 years until 2008. I decided to drop my official second project. That would be my official second project. I had three mixtapes in between, but 2008 is when I dropped Real Rap. And then after I dropped Real Rap, I've been just kind of going ever since. You know what I mean? Nonstop.
That's fair. So okay, so you drop it in 2008. Are you still in Syracuse at that point?
Yeah, I'm still in Syracuse. Still in Syracuse. I stayed in Syracuse until 2012 and I moved to New York.
What made you decide to go to New York?
It's time to get up out of here, man. This was time to go somewhere else, and just do some different things. You know what I mean? Who wouldn't want to move to New York City? It's the greatest city in the world. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Um, I mean, I never been, so I don't know. I would
Oh,
have to go at least once before I could. But I hear from everyone that it's the greatest city ever, and it's not worth arguing about it and just accept it.
definitely not worth arguing about it because I've been to tons of cities, and just there's nothing like New York City.
Yeah. Um, I've heard way too many people say that for me to doubt it. I'm not doubting it at all. I just have yet to experience it. I'm planning on it very soon. But so when you get to New York City, how does
Well,
that hit you?
well, I think I kind of jumped the timeline because
Oh, my bad.
yeah, I jumped the timeline. So in 2010,
Right.
so the battle rap thing started in like 2008. So I'd go to Florida. I would judge battles. You would catch me on Grind Time judging battles in Florida, judging some battles in New
Oh
York
shit! I'm
City.
glad you went back.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was judging battles. This is how I got involved with battle rap. You know what I mean? Um, Matt Ills was one of the owners of the company, and I've known him since he was a young kid. I told you I met him in Orlando, produced his first project, Grind Time started in Orlando. I think Direct was going to Full Sail, and they just got this thing going. Um, and I was judging battles for a minute, and I think at one point I was gonna do a battle. I was gonna do a battle with somebody. They didn't show up, right? And I'm like, I came all the way to Florida, and they didn't show up for the battle. So then I was just like, yeah, nah, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? That had me too frustrated. So I prepared, was ready to battle. Dude didn't show up. You know what I mean? And I was tight. You know what I mean? Because I was ready to go, and I put all this energy into that, and then it didn't. And I was just like, and I noticed that happens a lot. People won't show up because back then wasn't nobody getting paid. People was traveling across the country to battle in different cities on their own dollar. There was no money being paid out. You know what I mean? They were just wilding for respect back then. You know what I mean? And shortly after that, me and I went on tour with Mad Ills, and we eventually landed at Scribble Jam.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so the end of the tour was Scribble Jam. That was the last show. So during Scribble Jam, um, a very prominent conversation that happened between Mad Ills and Pumpkinhead.
Right.
And this is where Pumpkinhead comes into play to take over or help run with Jay's Juice the New York division of Grind Time, which we know is G Tech.
Right.
Um, and at that point, so I go back to Florida, finish up the tour, and then I go back to Syracuse, and I was just like thinking to myself, after going to a couple more battles, out in New York City, I'm judging for Pumpkin for PH. I would judge battles, and then I'd go back and forth, and eventually I just came up with the idea like I need to do an upstate New York division of Grind Time. So I just hit up PH, picked his brain, asked him what his thoughts was about it. He thought it was a great idea. He gave me his blessings. So then basically after that, I just went to Ills like, yo, I want to start a upstate New York division. What do I need to do? And he was like, yo, we do this, do this, do this, do this. And we did it. And we had the upstate New York division of Grind Time.
Yo, that's dope. How did that go? Like
It went great, man. We had tryouts. And it's crazy because by the time I was ready to do the tryout, PH just wanted to battle. So he left his duties to Poison Pen.
right.
So during my tryouts, it was me, Matt Ills, and Poison Pen that came from my tryouts in upstate. So this is where me and Poison Pen start building our relationship. We already knew each other and had a relationship before that from just going to the battles, but this is where we start building it because now we're working together. You know what I mean? I'm going to all of the New York Grind Times. He came to my tryouts, came to a couple battles in Syracuse, and was just getting a lot of advice from him with the, booking these battle rappers, how to find these battle rappers. Upstate was very much untapped when it came to finding talent. You know what I mean? But I was reaching out,
Right.
reached out. I had people from Rochester all the way to Buffalo, to Albany in my division. I had a dude from Philly in my division, that would come from Philly to battle in my division. So it was dope, man. I mean, everything is documented. All the battles and the events that I did are put up on YouTube. Grind Time, upstate New York.
So basically, you're the Lush One or Poison Pen of upstate New York. That's
That's what
dope.
it is.
And so there's a bunch of videos of you going, okay, on the left, the battler is
Yes,
blah,
sir.
blah, blah. On the right. And then you have your own shtick that you do that I don't know
Yes,
yet.
sir.
But that's fucking cool, man. And so you basically did all the behind the scenes promotional work and just kind of kept
I
it
did
alive and
everything.
shit.
I pretty much ran everything myself. I didn't really have a team. The only team that I really had was my cameraman, Tone Spliff. Shout out to Tone Spliff. Tone Spliff was from Utica. He shot all the videos. You know what I'm saying? That's my guy. But besides that, really, I did everything myself. I didn't really have no team. A lot of the battle rappers would help out with some shit, some flyers and things like that. Help promote and all that. Shout out to all the battle rappers that was promoting the battles and getting everybody in the doors.
Oh, that's incredible. How long did you run that for?
2010 till 2012.
I guess that's when grind time is no longer
Mhm.
grind time, or
No, it was still around then. My dude Real Talk took over my position. Shout out to Real Talk. He was one of the battle rappers. He took over my position and was did some events after that. But definitely it was you know it was on its decline, um, and on its way out the door. I mean, you know, it held on for as long as it could. You know what I mean?
right?
Um, but yeah, I mean, I did a whole documentary about behind the scenes of battle rap that's out on my YouTube channel.
I did not peep that, but I'm actually very interested, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
peep that
you should watch it.
because
It's very intuitive. Not the best documentary in the world because I didn't know how to shoot a documentary. I just did it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of other things that I learned how to do. I just picked up a
when did you
camera and
make
started
this?
doing it. Uh, I'd have to look to find exactly, but I would say maybe 2014, 2015,
Okay.
somewhere around there, 2016, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna peep that documentary. And I know sometimes people say they definitely will, but I have high interest in making documentaries in the future. So it's like, oh shit, let me look at what one in this tier looks like. Plus,
But I did because I had no idea what I was doing.
but on top of that, I think it's a lot more about the knowledge source.
Yeah,
How
for
many
sure.
people are a part of the internal workings of Grind Time where I've talked to Poison Pen and Lush One and
Absolutely.
Direct and like several other people. I mean, Dutch Vega is my guy in this endeavor, like
Shout out to Dutch.
Sarakana, a bunch of
Shout out
people.
to Sis. What up, Sis?
And so I've gotten to like hear a lot of stories about this era, but it's all stories. To get visuals,
Yeah. No, every
that's
that's the thing. That's the thing about the whole culture, man. Everything is documented. The Grind Time channel is still up and running. There's still classic battles, that you can watch. You can watch the evolution of Grind Time from the beginning. I think I
so
think
the
I think from the very first battle, man, with Johnny Storm and damn, I can't remember who he battled. Shout out to Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm and maybe Moss Gelton. Maybe I can't remember. That was the first battle that got like mad views and started clicking for the battle rap shit. So really shout out to Direct and Mad Ills, man. They really like those dudes, man. They don't get the credit, man, for what they did. You know what I mean? And definitely Lush One too. Late Lush One came on board after they had already laid some of the footprint down and made this thing even bigger. Lush One is like the one of the dudes that was started doing these big events. The Bola events were huge. You know what I mean? Battle of the Bay and all those events were crazy, man. And Cap Callis too. Cap Callis started running in Orlando and was doing big events too. Grizzle Mania. Those are some of the events that played a big part in popular making this battle rap thing just catapult.
I appreciate that. And I mean, I can see how that worked out. Here's, I guess, the difference is you can watch all this stuff, but the context isn't attaching it to each other.
The context is not there, but you can definitely watch the battles. I mean, like, yo, Poison Pen is the first one that did a pay-per-view. That was his thing. He did that
Right.
in grind time. You know what I
I,
mean? And like my dude Penn don't get the flowers that he deserves, man, because he did a lot of firsts in this battle rap thing. You know what I mean? He brought a lot of celebrities to the table with this battle rap thing. You know what I mean? Because he was a celebrity.
yo, that's a good way to put it. I mean, he's a legend.
100%.
Like that guy, like his story is just incredible. And it
Stories that people don't even know, man, that I'm privy to, that I wouldn't speak on because he didn't speak on them himself. But like just so many stories, bro. So many stories. Penn has been around. you know, this battle rap thing before it was even what it was, before he'd even fight, you know, hook back in hook.com and things of that nature. You know what I mean?
Plus
Radio
he
battling.
plus just the way he tells stories.
Oh,
Too good.
Penn is the guy for that. You know what I mean? He was
But here's an
definitely the guy for
example.
that.
I didn't know to pay attention for Poison Pen laughing until somebody told me to pay attention for Poison Pen laughing. Like it's the kind of thing you wouldn't necessarily look for unless somebody pointed it out to you and go, but bro, you got to just look at his reaction on this classic battle. And there's like a sect of people that debate classic Pen reactions to bars. I've
Absolutely.
seen, and it's amazing. But like you don't know about that. You're just watching it. You're like, who? You know, you don't even register that the guy's laughing because you're focused on it. And then I started looking at the crowds different, and but it was really because I talked to so many of y'all, and y'all like just gave me these little additional things to care about.
Right.
With regards to the whole ambiance. So because I've watched battles prior to talking to y'all, and it was never the same experience. Like I had to watch the movie Bodied just to kind of wrap my head around why people said a bunch of shit. It didn't make sense to me. And
Yeah.
so like as time's gone on, now I get it. But it really is like once you get it, it's dope. And so that's why it's like to get a documentary like that, even however the quality is, your context is gonna be like a powerful asset to
It's
anybody.
definitely good context, and it gives you a good timeline. And it lets it, if people are wondering, if there's a fan, right, and they want to know how did this new era of battle rap become what it is, you know what I mean? This is the documentary you want to watch, because there's a lot of false narratives out there. People will revert you back to Fight Club and Smack DVD, right? They'll revert you. Oh, they catapulted this. No, that's a different era. Though those are totally different era. Battle rap was non-existent. Nobody cared about battle rap, especially in the industry. Nobody in the industry cared about battle rap.
That's
Sorry, it's mad bugs out here right now.
where
But
is it?
Jump Off, which was a 2-on-2 battle league. I'm sure you've heard of that. You know what I mean? They were the ones that really started bringing the battle rap shit back. Still a different format of what we know today, but they were, had these little 2-on-2 competitions, and this is where all these battle rappers, a lot of them came together. You know what I mean? And this is where Direct, his idea to, because it was over with, you know what I mean? And Direct was like, damn, I don't want this shit. And he'll discuss this in the you can hear him say this out of his own mouth on my documentary, you know what I mean? And basically he's like, I didn't want it to end. So I wanted to create something to keep the vibe going. And they did. They create when this is where Grind Time was birthed. This is where this new era of battle rap as we know it today was birthed.
that's
Period.
cool. That's dope. And so, like after I guess 2012, you hand off the reins and move to New York, is what I
Mad
understand.
bugs out here, bro. These bugs is big out here on the lake.
It's fair. Um, it's a good view though. It's nicer than like the back of people's apartments or houses or whatever. You got like water and it's got a serene vibe to it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and you said then after that, basically around 2012, you end up moving to New York, and at this
Yeah.
point, you've handed off your grind time north.
Hand off the reins to my guy, real talk.
And then, so what happens when you come to New York? And what's that transition like?
Uh, I was just really at that point, man, I just was focused on being an artist, making music. I was in school. I was going to school. I went back to school and got my degree. You know what I mean? Trying to leave the streets alone. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, just trying to get it together, life in general, you know. So focusing on life goals, but then also still, tapped into the music, you know what I mean? Whatever was going on in the city, battle rap wise.
Right. And are you still involved in that, or are you just like at this point you're like, nah, I'm gonna make
Nah,
music.
not
This is
really
just my.
involved with it, man. You know what I mean? I think I might have done some random judging. I did some random like standing in some battles, some King of the Dot battles. When they started doing the massacre joints, when King of the Dot started coming over this way. Um, Not really involved with it at all, just was in the camera, you know what I mean? Going to the battles. Nah, I haven't been involved with battle rap in quite a long time.
Right.
As far as just being a spectator, you know what I mean? Maybe made a few connections for people, you know what I mean? But other than that, nah, I've been off the battle rap thing since 2012.
So with that, how do you get like? How do you? Sorry, let me re-ask that. When do you get like? When do you become a Team Homi member?
That's funny. Um, just when I was again like my relationship with Penn, when I would come to New York and judge battles, I would stay with Penn. You know, I would be around Swave, Money Bags, you know what I mean? Bugs, PH. Like these are all the people I'm around while every time I'm in New York City. So I'm around nothing but Team Hami members, you know what I mean? So every time I'm in the city, I'm with Team Hami members. So naturally, when I moved to the city, that's who I hung around with. Penn was my right hand in New York City. That's who I was always went out with, went to events with. And so I'm always around Swave, Ike, Sarah, and I just, start having my own relationships with everybody. So it was just kind of a natural progression, man. It's like it wasn't like being part of a, just being part of a crew. It's just we all real friends. We talk to each other, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just kind of it was kind of just a natural progression. It was organic. I guess that's how you would want to say it.
I appreciate that. I just know I seen you all up in the Team Homi ciphers, and I'm like, that's fresh. And I mean, you are one of the more Team Homi on everything of the folk I've talked to, and I like that.
Gotta rep the team, man. You heard?
So with the music career, basically, how does being in New York City change the viability of being a musician for you? Because I mean, that would be like the big change, right? Now you're in New York City and you're now pushing music.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't. The first couple projects that I did, I was still going back to Syracuse and recording. You
Right.
know, shout out to my dude Bill Blends, Infinite Records. You know what I mean? Johnny Bang. I would go and just bang out in his studio. I had open. You know, because a lot of my connects were still in Syracuse, so there was no studios in New York City I could go to and just record for free. So
Right.
I would go back and forth to Syracuse and record whatever projects I was working on. But yeah, I'm an organic type of a person, so it's, I started having, I saw that I had access to um some major underground artists if I wanted to pay to play, get people on songs and things of that nature. You know what I mean? But I just wasn't really with none of that. You know what I mean? So, just people that I did music with, just everything came organically, man. It really just Team Hami. I
Right.
really didn't do music with anybody other than Team Hami or people that I fuck with in Syracuse.
That's I mean, that's really cool though. Like I mean, you if at the end of the day, if like it makes it a lot more about the music. It makes it a lot more about the vibe, right? Like
Hmm. And it's organic. It's not like, I wasn't, I'm not really, and even to this day, like I'm just really not into like being like, okay, such and such wants a couple $1,000. Let me just drop him a couple $1,000 and do a song with this dude who I really don't chill with. I respect his craft and all that, but you know, I would just rather make music with my peoples because I got dope. My friends are dope. You know what I
that
mean?
is true.
Like my peoples is dope. So why would I seek out features from other MCs when I have a Poison Pen, a Swave Sever, a Ike P, a Sarah Connor, a Wade I Black, a Money Bags, a J Murder, an Excel. You know what I mean? Why would I do that?
You know what? I've heard most of those names rap at this point, and it is an extremely like
Super dope.
solid. I'm with you. I mean, why?
Team Homi's roster is
I'm like you
crazy.
really like can listen, like you listen to like the ciphers and the way that you guys bounce off of each other, and it comes with like this whole like my girlfriend and I used to do the album reviews, and one of the things that really stuck out to her a lot more than me at first was how much people sounded like they were buddies. Like when like one of the first ones we did was NWA, straight out of Compton or something. And she just felt like they all sounded like super good homies, and it was like her favorite part of the album was just like how buddy buddy they sounded working together. And I'm like, that's a crazy observation because they do kind of have that synergy as they're on that project. And we can feel that like organic, this was meant to be ness of like people working together versus like I don't know. Sometimes you hear songs and the
Paying
verses
people,
is
just paying people to do features with you.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna knock the hustle, but
Nah, I'm not. They're never gonna knock the hustle. It's just not for me personally. I don't like to make music that way.
however, I would absolutely pay for somebody I wanted to work with if like the opportunity, like if it was really like my hero's up in my face and he put a price tag, I might take that price tag
With a
one time for
okay,
it.
so let me reiterate. Like as an underground artist who does everything myself with no budget, I'm not doing that. Now, if I had a budget,
Mm,
on the other hand, and it's somebody else's bread, then of course I'm gonna be like, damn, who did I always want to work with that I could actually do a record with now?
I hear you,
You know what I
and
mean? But I would also too at the same time would want to spread some of that budget money to my homies.
I mostly would want to spread that to homies. I just could like there's a very small handful of people, but like there's those people that like, since I'm like, years back, I just want to work with that person. It's like the dream.
For sure.
That guy
Not
comes in
facts.
my face, I'm like, fine, I'll go sell some shit, figure it out.
Facts.
But like otherwise, nah, I'm with you because of that money thing. I don't know, I'm in my 30s, so it's not like the value of a dollar is not lost on me at this point. And I'm like, I don't even know if I could sell enough right now to even make back the feature in the current everything. I mean, I'm not set up like that. So it'd be like, cool, I'm putting money down to cop something that is just vanity at that point. Like it's a vanity thing to me. Not to say that some people are, they all know what they're doing with it. So it's not to knock their hustle. This is my hustle and how I
Yeah, for
feel about
sure.
it. But, so that resonates a lot with me. But you're still doing a whole bunch of shit. Like your music sounds blessed.
Good luck.
And like you have a whole lot of projects on your Bandcamp, not yeah, your Bandcamp, which is
Hmm.
cool to me because like there's almost like I realized something to a person that plays that Bandcamp game right, right? Like that understands it. And I mean, at first I was really annoyed when shit wasn't everywhere, and then I'm like, fair enough, Bandcamp's fine. It is a terrible music player in my life, but as far as it goes, like it's a really cool and powerful resource, and it just shows like your shit's set up though. Your shit's got graphics, everything looks fucking nice, everything's clean. It's like super convenient to like find your shit there,
JusOneMusic.com.
and it
You don't
just
even have to use
everything's
a
good.
bank. I have a website link to it, so you don't have to do a Bandcamp link and all that. It's just JusOneMusic.com.
Boom. And what I saw there though is this vacant dreams thing, and I'm like, that looks really nifty. What is a vacant dreams? It looks
Vacant
like
Dreams is my clothing line.
say a word. How did you get into a clothing line?
I've always been into fashion.
Right.
I've
But
always
like,
been into fashion, and I gotta give credit where credit is due, man. I just my motivation was just inspired by my dude Nems. You know what I mean? Shout out to Nems. You know what I mean? He was killing the merch with the fuck your life shit, man, and he was definitely a huge inspiration. And really at that time was another one of those times where I was in between projects, and I was just kind of like, oh man, this shit's getting on my nerves. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to do something different, man. And just, watching him with the merch and killing the game just gave me motivation. And not even just Nems. There was a couple other people doing merch too. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody does merch, but Nems was just killing it, bro. And I was just like, damn, my dude is just really moving, man. He's just doing everything by himself. He ain't worrying about nobody, nothing. He just going. And I just like, well, I need to get off my ass. You know what I mean? So his hustle and his grind just motivated me to be like, dude, stop playing. You know what I mean? So I just, put it together, man. I finally came up with a name and just started putting it together, man. I just jumped out the window, just started doing it. You know what I mean? And I've been running with that for like 3 years now.
How come you came up with that name? Because yo, it stands the fuck out. It feels like it's like honestly, it feels like it's a
Yeah,
not for profit.
there's the logo. That's the main logo right there. You know, one of the things that I've seen a lot of artists come and go in this game, right? So I've seen a lot of artists come in, go super hard. They didn't make it in 2 years, and then they quit, and then you never hear from them again. They sell all they don't do shit. To me, though, those are people who never really loved the game to begin with. They just was fly by nighters, you know. And not to say they wasn't any good, because I know people that was dope, but they just didn't make it the way they wanted to make it, so they quit. They was like, "Oh, I'm wasting my time," right? This music thing will never be a waste of time for me because that's not why I do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So one of the sayings that always stuck to me was, you know, you got to fail so many times before you can have even just one win. You know what I mean? And the way that resonated with me was this is a dream to be in this artist world, entertainment world. It's a dream. It's a childhood dream. That's when it starts. You know what I'm saying? So you follow your dreams. You know what I mean? And along the way, there's so many losses, right? And I just equated that to vacant because they didn't amount to
Mm.
anything, right? So I equated those situations you know that might have been milestones in in your story, but they still never equated to nothing. So they were just vacant dreams. You know what I mean? Because they didn't equate to nothing. And basically, the mantra of vacant dreams is, it takes 1,000 failures to have one success.
Oh, it's blessed. But you could argue that all the vacant dreams led to you having vacant dreams,
That's a fact.
and that's fucking cool. On it, okay. Like I like the X's. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was 15 with My Chemical Romance and that whole fucking era. But shit, man, that is dope. I like the X's over the A's. It really is an appealing fucking design, and I fucks with it
Good luck.
heavy.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Um, I also like the fact that you made projects named after it.
Yeah,
Like,
well, how that happened was basically, again, I love organic situations. Um, One day I just popped at the studio where Wade Eye Black and Swave was at. Or maybe Swave wasn't even there. I can't remember. But Wade Eye was there. We was in Brownsville, and I was just happened to be in the neighborhood, so I popped up in the studio. And all of a sudden he was like, "Yo, we should do a joint." I was like, "Yo, who else can we call?" I got a hold of Money. Yo, Money, where you at? We in the studio. We about to do a joint. Money came through. Um, Two Shot did the beat because we have a song called Vacant Dreams. We did a video for it.
yeah.
Um, and I didn't even know it was gonna be. I didn't write the hook. Wade Eye did the hook. I just had a Vacant Dreams hat on, and Wade Eye just came up with the hook and was like, "Yo, this is the hook." I was like, "Oh, that's fire!" And then that's how the song Vacant Dreams was birthed. And once that song was birthed, it really was supposed to go on a Team Homi project that we were working on. But it kept taking so long to get everybody in the studio. I ended up saying like, "Yo, we got to put this record out. This record is fire." Was me, Money Bags, and Wade Out Black. So we all were like, "Yo, we got to do the video and put this record out." So put the record out. The record went crazy, and this is right before the pandemic. So the record went crazy. We did like 100,000 on Boom Bap, Boom. What is it? Boom Bap Nation, I believe it is. They put the record up, the video up. We did like close to 100,000. It might be at 100,000 now. I know last time it was like 90 something, might be close, but the record was going crazy. You know what I mean? And then the pandemic happened. Everything shut down. We can't work in the studio no more to work on Team Homi shit. I have a studio at the crib, so then I just started working on music and decided to put out a Vacant Dreams project.
Yeah, so you took a vacant dream and made a vacant dream album out of it,
Again, yeah. And then I did Vacant Dreams Volume 2.
which is where the song Vacant Dreams is on.
It ended up on, yeah, I was supposed to go on the first one and I didn't put it on the first one because I wasn't sure if we were still going to put out that Team Homi project that we were
Right.
working on. We never did end up was able to finish it. So I was like, you know what, let me put the Vacant Dreams record on Volume 2. So at least it's on a project. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how that happened, man. And again, like I said, it was organic. It was nothing that was everything that I do is organic. Nothing's forced. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's just the way I like to work.
I mean, you're still making music all this time later after multiple decades with a
Sloppy
tenacity.
Loops, Old English, and a 9/4 Legend. That's the next project coming out.
Say word, when's that dropping?
Sloppy Loops, Old English, and a 9/4 Legend. I'm hoping to drop it on my born day, September 12th.
So that's dope. That's real soon. How long is it?
That was the first time I plugged that. So
Oh shit!
yeah, that was
I
the
like the
first time I
title.
plugged that. So I'm
Sloppy
hoping
Loops,
Sloppy Loops, Old
Old
English, and a
English, you're
9/4
drinking.
Legend.
I don't know what 9/4 Legend is.
A 94 Acura Legend.
Oh, say word, that's the car.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So you're like riding the
All
car.
produced by me again. Both the Vacant Dreams 1 and 2 was produced by me, except for the Vacant Dreams record was the only one that wasn't produced by me.
Yo, that's
Salute the
really
Two Shot.
like no lie, JusOne. I don't like to lie about music at all because I got my reviewer reputation to worry about. Not that it's huge, but I care. But like that was some fire shit, man. I really enjoyed your sound and your versatility. That's the part that impresses me more. Because yo, everybody can sound good, but to sound good and then even like fuck around with like all the different stuff. You didn't just stick to like the classic shit. You got a little wavy with it here and there. You got a little spicier with it. Just like yo, I can do your shit too, which is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bigger
facts.
flex. I loved it. I love the energy on it. I'm liking. I'm more impressed knowing you did the production and whatnot too,
Good
because
luck, man. I
it's
appreciate it.
actually fucking stellar. Um,
Mixed and engineered everything. I do everything myself. The graphics, everything. The videos, everything. That's
uh,
how I
I,
keep that's how I keep it going, man. That's how I keep the lights on. I don't pay nobody to do nothing, so I do it myself.
it is definitely wise to do as much in house as you can do.
All my
I
Vacant Dreams designs, it's all me.
Do you know? Oh yeah, we have a couple of comment questions. That one of them I ignored because it was bad timing. But at this moment, we can drop it. And this is from the homie Lindell, who got excited because he's not far from Orlando right now. So we wanted to know first, what do you think of the humidity in Florida?
Sucks. The humidity sucks, man. I love Orlando though, but the weather in Florida sucks for me at least.
I understand, man. And then he may or may not remember an artist named King Sun, SUN.
Yeah, yeah, of
Remind
course.
you remind him of King Sun.
I ain't mad at that. I ain't
That
mad at
was
that.
that was the other one. Yeah, that's dope, man. You also do all your own graphic designs, which is fire. Like honestly, I am duly impressed. Like I know a lot of people don't. I don't know. Maybe in your mind, it's not like where you want to be. I don't know. But I look at it like, yo,
At
you
this
have the
point,
dopest shit. It's like so cool. Everything you're doing is like, bro, you're doing all the things and you're doing it nice.
yeah, I'm doing everything I want to do. I'm completely content and happy with life. I'm not one of these bitter ass dudes because I'm not driving a Bentley and and all that other shit. I'm not concerned with that. I'm living great. You know what I mean? And still doing what I love to do at a high level. And as long as I can do it, I'm gonna keep doing it because that was my point about the fly by night dudes who come in and they don't get on in the first 2 years and they walk away and quit. And it not that they wasn't dope or anything like that, but it just goes to show you who really loves the music, who really loves the culture. Are you a real artist? It separates the real artists from the dudes that's just trying to, they know that they have a talent and they're going to use it to try to make some bread. It doesn't work out. So they go back to being a banker, whatever their job was, and don't do it no more. I do this because I have to do it. Like, this is what I do. Like, if I didn't do music, I'd probably blow my brains out from stress. You know
No,
what I mean?
in that regard, I know exactly what you mean. As you were saying it, I thought about it. Like, there's even some people who, like, 5, 6 years ago, I would have sworn I never would have talked to again. But the part where, like, they still do it to this day, and they look at me with the same feeling. It's like, I mean, come on, you're still doing it. How can I hate? You know, like you've been doing it that long. Like, I respect that. Like, I have to respect somebody that dedicates their life to this in some way or another, and like puts it down. And then to do it nice, it's just incredible too. But like, it, there's a lot of people, like, you realize at a certain point that don't do it anymore, and then you start going the whatever happened to game in your mind, and you're like, oh, say a word, that's a big list. Whenever
Yeah.
you start playing whatever happened to. Oh, we got another question. Lindell's in a mood today. Did you find that the girls in Florida were of a particular quality upgrade to other places? He's in a mood. And this is a real
And
question. You can see it pop up on the screen
chicks
after.
everywhere are the same, man. Chicks every there's
I love it.
you know what I mean? There's nice looking chicks, ugly chicks everywhere you go.
That is the most facts of life answer to that question I ever
You know,
heard.
once you start being everywhere and you start, obviously attitudes are different. You know what I mean? Attitudes are different from
Mm.
different regions and things of that nature. But you know,
So, let's ask about that. You've been to a lot of places. Have you toured a lot?
nah, I really haven't done that. I've technically I've really only toured one time with my dude Mad Ills.
Mm.
Technically, that was the only time I've ever did like a, I've done shows all over the place. A lot of times just one offs. You know what I mean? But I never did no tour. No.
So what kind of so you did a lot more traveling for like battle rap and things like that, or
Yeah, a lot of traveling for battle rap, man. I mean, when I was doing the grind time battle rap in upstate, I was really just focused on putting my city on, putting the whole upstate on, not even just my city, putting the whole upstate down. Like I said, I was dealing with people from Rochester, Buffalo, Albany, Utica, all over the place. You know what I mean? So I was just concerned with making sure they was getting battles, and really focusing on the business of battle rap at that point. And we were going everywhere. Like we were going to Atlanta. We all the wherever there was a grind top division, we were going there. You know what I mean? My dude,
that's
Real
the,
Talk, he made it all the way to he made it all the way to Rock the Bells from L.A. Out in L.A. and that was just really big deal for him, and also to see him go, see all the hard work that we put in to just into the battle rap thing that we did here, because nobody knew who these dudes from upstate were until we started pushing.
yeah, that's big, if you think about the power of upstate in the game today.
I mean, yeah, I mean now some of the biggest influences in hip hop, Griselda coming out of Buffalo, New York. You know what I mean? Salute to them dudes, man. They really cracked the pavement.
Yeah, it's definitely big. Another one question we got. Dad, what's your favorite project you worked on?
That's a hard one, man, because every time I start a new project, that's my favorite project. But
I
but
relate to that.
but I would have to say, man, my first project was probably the most involved because what I didn't I did some of the beats, but I had different producers on that, different artists coming what I was working with on that project, and just people around. Like it wasn't just my own input. Now I create projects and it's just me. I'm my input. I'm doing all my own input. There isn't a bunch of people around me. Oh, yo, do this like this, do this like that. You know what I mean? Oh, you should say this like that, or you should come at it like this with a different angle. But back then, that was probably the most fun I had working on a project, because it was a lot more input than just my own in that project.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big observation. So, in your opinion, just having the producer element in the room is
Yeah,
huge. I don't
yeah,
mean
no, it's
beat
a big
maker. I
deal.
mean like actual producer.
Yeah. Now I just do what I want, do what I feel. I'm sorry, the sun is going down, y'all.
You know, it's perfect. It's like a great way to like close off the ambiance of things as we
Absolutely.
ended off. There's still like you got another question here. This one's from Ismail. Did you produce for other people?
Yes, I have. I did some joints for Poison Pen, although he hasn't released them yet. I did bunch of Syracuse artists I've done joints for. I've produced. Actually, I have a couple projects coming out right now where I just did the productions on. One with my dude Chorus Cordero. I'm working on something with CF, Constant Flow. Um, I'm working on what else? What else? What else? My dude Javel J5 from out here. I just gave him a bunch of beats. He's working on a project, probably gonna use a few of my joints. So yeah, I'm working on a project with my dude Wade I Black, all produced by me, a little EP. So yeah, I'm starting to branch out and do my, because before I would just really just do production for myself every once in a while. So I would give somebody a beat or they would use a beat. Oh, just let me get that beat. I like that if you're not using it. But for the most part, I always just produce for myself. But yeah, now I'm starting to branch out and I'm trying to do projects like whole production projects with a few different artists. I got 3 of them on the way.
Man, I love your ambition. It's like not
I don't know if it's
only are you
ambition, it's just
still
passion to do it. It's not really ambition, it's really just passion to keep doing it. Like this is just what I do.
I mean,
I don't know if it's ambition or it's just
ambition is
or
the part
passion.
where it grows.
Yeah,
Because
I guess so.
because you could just do it and it not go anywhere, and then
True.
that would to me
True
be
indeed.
raw passion. I know a lot of that. So the part where it's interesting and it grows, and there's a lot of people involved, and a desire to focus on culture, and yeah, I mean, there's a degree of ambition if you're fucking running grind time at one point.
True. True indeed. No, absolutely.
So I respect all that. Yeah, we got one more question here. I know the lighting is kind of
All right, hold
fading
on.
on
I
you.
think that this is gonna be all right. Here we go.
Yeah, now that's it. We got that. Who are rappers that caught your attention the most? I guess who are some of your biggest influences outside of Team Homi? I'm gonna put that caveat.
And I'm see this now you're going, well, I guess I've already gotten into that. So I would have to say, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim. Rakim was probably my biggest influence. KRS-One, Cool G Rap, some of the, Nas, Jay-Z, all the greats, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I respect that a lot. So you have the next project dropping September something. I don't remember the
Hopefully
date.
September 12th. If I can,
September 12th.
it's all done. I'm just waiting on a few features.
You got videos, you got all this stuff going on, YouTube's and lives. Basically everything for you is fucking being blessed. You linked up with Team Hami. I'm really happy we had this conversation. You're a fucking interesting person with like a
Oh,
very
I'm glad somebody thinks I'm interesting.
I mean, you I think anybody see sometimes people think interesting is in the accomplishment and I don't think that's the case. I think often accomplishment's boring half the time. Like, who cares that Eminem wins awards? It's almost boring at this point. Like,
The
who fucking
journey. It's
cares?
the journey that's more interesting.
And I think in this era, it's a lot more interesting to watch a guy grind it out to the point where he's starting a clothing line and popping off in COVID and doing all this crazy shit. Like, to me, that's fire. Like, what's more interesting than somebody that took advantage of of their life?
Yeah, I dig
I mean,
that.
other people can disagree with me all they want, but at least a lot of people I talk to tend to be on the same page. I think it's why the veneer of materialism isn't holding up so well with the youthful little ones. It's because authenticity is on the way back in again, is my predictions. And
I believe, and that I believe that that's giving me another a boost. You know what I'm saying? To see that this thing that we do is coming back alive. You know what I
and
mean? You know, with artists like Ransom popping back up. You know what I mean? Salute to Ransom. His new project is crazy. You know, Jojo Pellegrino, his new project is crazy. Like these are dudes we haven't really heard from. And then all of a sudden, you know, that, you know, I mean, Ransom, we've been hearing some things from Ransom, but Jojo kind of been, you know, putting things out here and there. And all of a sudden he puts out this project and it's bananas. You know what I mean? You know, shout out to my dude Nems. You know what I mean? I know he getting ready to drop his first project. You know, the Gorilla Monsoon was crazy. I know he getting ready to drop another one. The Congo joint is probably going to be even crazier. So, you know, RJ Payne, another dude, is just crazy with it. You know what I mean? Mickey Fax, like just all these dudes, man. Like, you know, and the conversation is coming back. It's coming back to skills. Like, can you rap? Like, and
yeah,
there's a
but
whole
what I
audience
like
of
is that it's
people.
not just can you rap, it's can you rap, but it has to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It's not
Because,
just, you know,
like, that Mickey Fax joint was the most interesting part of everything that came out of that Lupe and everything.
it's look, and that pumps me up a little bit, man. I get excited about that. That is coming back around. Those conversations are happening again. You know what I mean?
All I heard about today was Dipset locks. All
Sure.
that's the only conversation, and all of
Yeah,
the conversation, and it's a great
definitely.
conversation. Unless you were a team Dipset, upon which maybe you weren't having a good day. It is what it is. I
Yeah,
was
they got their
team.
boots. They got their boots smoked.
I had a lot of fun watching it. I
Yeah,
was
nah.
like,
It
yo,
was the
the
only verses
locks.
I've ever watched. I never watched a verses before.
I got suckered into DMX Snoop Dogg because like
I caught
I'm
glimpses and pieces of a
12
couple
in
verses, but
2000.
nah, that's the only verses I watched.
It was, it was worth it. I went back. The only part I did not like was the 10-ish minutes of we're gonna shut down the event if you
Oh yeah,
motherfuckers
yeah,
don't
yeah.
get off the stage. And
But
then you're
but
looking at them and you're just like, why won't you
but
get off the
that's
stage?
but that's a part of hip hop. If you've ever been to a battle rap event, you know that that's just what's going to happen in between battles.
Why?
It's just that's just hip hop, bro.
Man, some of it's so baffling to me. So I'm
That's just
watching
hip
it
hop, man.
and I'm like, what's going on? Because I mean, it's and then they're just
That's
yelling
the
at, and
beauty
then
of it.
to a degree, they just kept the show going, and the stage people did not really lose their battle. They were like, "Nah, I don't think I have to get off this stage. It's not gonna fall, and if it falls, I'm falling with it."
Yeah,
And the motherfucker put a chair down. I'm like,
yeah,
"That's a bold thing to do, right? Like to just."
yeah. Pretty crazy. It was dope, man. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
I enjoyed it too. It was fun. I wanna see. I like the fact that like. It's different with a crowd. This is the first one I saw with, like a crowd where like, you could just feel the energy in the room in a way where
Yeah,
it's not just fucking people on Instagram. And I was like,
yeah,
that's
no, for sure.
the
Madison
verses
Square
is could
Garden,
be.
bro. New York City was in the building that night.
It was fire. It was really cool. I don't know, man. It got me excited, and I think that like the algorithm Spotify thing that everyone hates created a lot of new markets that love exactly this like authentic ish. Like I don't want to say like other things are illegitimate, but like this more raw field of hip hop from back in the day. And because of algorithms, it's like a lot of people just got new consumers. 50-year-olds give a shit about new music for like the first time in history because the barrier to entry to finding new music is so low that even 50-year-olds are like, you know what? I'll pay for the Spotify. Send me some new tunes. I got people like the most surprising because I'm like
Yeah,
the rapper at work. So I got the most surprising people walking up to me trying to show me hip hop songs of all genre. I'm like, you listen to that? And that started happening a lot in the last like 3 years. So it makes me believe that like literally everybody's gonna be able to make music, and there's gonna be a lot of people into this conversation as it grows. And if Lupe can drop 2-minute verses 7 times a day, I'm exaggerating a bit, but he just kept doing it. It was like
yeah,
18 hours, dropped another one, 2 days dropped. And I'm like, I guess things are changing now, right? Like it's shifting in a more fun direction that is not what it's been for the longest time.
I would say so. I would agree with that statement.
Um, but yeah, I appreciate you coming through. I feel like in the organic sense of things, it's like we got to the past, we went through your story,
Yeah.
we're at the present. The sun has gone down. Soon it will be too dark.
Appreciate y'all having me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a shame that Mr. Flacky couldn't be here. It is what it is, but I
It's all
still
good. Love is love.
really appreciate you coming and that you shared this with us and that like you let us get to know you like that. I thought this was an amazing time. And
Yo,
I also want to thank End of the Week for hosting this because they're
shout out to
incredible
EO
too.
Dub 100%.
Y'all can like find their stuff at /EOWTV or go to EODub whatever eodub.com. It's easier to say that. And you can go follow all their stuff. They're amazing, a wide itinerary of fun activities on the internet lines. And yeah, thank y'all for watching, the peoples that are here watching in the live
Shout
lines.
out to Big Sister Goddess. She was holding it down.
Oh my gosh, she's week over week. She is there to ensure the success of the situation. Y'all don't even know. I just don't bring up her name because she's one of those off-cam, behind-the-scenes people.
Facts, but
But
that's all
week
right, though.
over fucking week, yo, without her,
Facts.
and but that's it. And but y'all watching though, again, y'all make it a show. Y'all in the future, y'all make it a product. It makes it wonderful. Everybody's dope out there. We appreciate that. Do you have any like final words for the peeps?
Nah, man. I just appreciate whoever came through. I couldn't see the live, so I don't know how many people was watching, whatever. But I know it's gonna get put out. But shout out to everybody, man. I hope y'all check out the music. You know what I mean? Check out the clothing line, JusOneMusic.com, Vacant Dreams, VacantDreams.com for the clothing line. The Instagram and the Facebook is JusOne_Team Homi. Just come fuck with me, man.
Yo, on that note, everyone, appreciate y'all being here though, and live long and prosper, everybody.
Salute.
Awesome.